Hi there, and welcome to Nursing Matters. I'm Christina. Today I'm thrilled to bring you something different, a conversation that could change the trajectory of your nursing career. I'm sitting down with Carrie Bruno, founder and CEO of the Mama Coach, a truly unique and entrepreneurial opportunity for nurses globally. With bedside burnout at an all time high, I want to bring you options you can consider and potentially implement to upgrade both your personal and professional life. The Mama Coach isn't just another nursing job, it's a pathway for nurses to reclaim their autonomy, build their own practices, and deliver on their own terms. Whether you're feeling stuck, burned out, or simply curious about what's possible beyond the traditional healthcare system, this conversation is for you. So settle in, grab your coffee, and please enjoy this segment with our special guest, Carrie Bruno.
All right, I am joined today by Carrie Bruno. Carrie is a registered nurse, an international board certified lactation consultant, certified menopause society practitioner, and the founder and CEO of the Mama Coach, which is a global nurse-led organization providing personalized support for pregnancy, postpartum, and parenting, including sleep, feeding, and lactation. Carrie, welcome to Nursing Matters.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I want to dive right in here and learn more about you. So I know you spent over a decade in labor and delivery. Tell me what drew you to nursing and more specifically L&D.
Sure. So I have been a registered nurse for almost 21 years, and my passion has always been women's health. I call it my life's work, and it was then too. When I was in the hospital, building strong relationships with the women and the families that I worked with was always, it's what I led with. It really, really mattered to me. And it's a big reason why I went into nursing. And I worked in labor and delivery. I've worked in postpartum. I've worked in women's health clinics. And it all centered around relationships because I think that's such a big part of nursing.
Oh, absolutely. And there's so many people interested in labor and delivery specifically. So was there a certain aha moment for you when you realized hospital care wasn't enough and that families needed more support?
Yeah. And so I started the Mama Coach 11 years ago. And leading up to it, I would probably say for the last few years of my career in the hospital, I was starting to feel. At the time, I couldn't put a name to what I was feeling, but I felt uncomfortable. I felt, first of all, physically and my own health, I felt like I was struggling. I worked permanent night shifts. I know anybody listening to this knows exactly what I'm talking about. Whether you work day shift or night shift, I do think that nursing is a very taxing profession because you go to work and you just commit wholeheartedly physically, but also emotionally, and the workload is heavy. And I was really starting to feel that. And then I had two small children and I was skipping on sleep to be with my family, which I know a lot of nurses do as well. So I was struggling on that side. I kind of just felt like I was okay at everything, and okay wife and okay mom and okay friend and okay nurse, because I was chronically exhausted. And so then on the flip side, though, I also was struggling with the nursing side of things because when I went to nursing school, we really focused on the nursing model of care, and it was centered around communication. And the last few years of my career, I really felt like I was checking boxes, like running around, and I knew that people needed deeper understanding, but I didn't, because the construct that I was working in wasn't allowing for that. And I left a lot of shifts feeling like I'm not enough. That wasn't good enough. And that really led me to, I can remember one night at my kitchen table with my husband, and I just said, I can't do this. For 10, 20, 30 more years, I have a long career ahead of me and I love nursing, but I do not love this. And I didn't know what I was going to do. Yeah, I just knew I couldn't continue on this path and feel healthy, but I was just feeling like I was letting my patients down. And it was because of the system that I was working in. I kind of realized that after I stepped outside of it. But it was in that moment that I thought, I'm going to try. I'm going to try to do nursing on my own terms outside of the construct that I was working in at the time.
Nurses, if you've ever thought there has to be more than this, I want you to lean in. What if you could use your nursing expertise in a flexible, family centered model that gives you real impact, autonomy, and complete control over your schedule? The Mama Coach is a nurse led movement helping families thrive and helping nurses build meaningful, sustainable careers outside the traditional system. This isn't about burnout, it's about breakthrough. If you're ready to expand your income potential, step into leadership, and join a powerful community of nurse entrepreneurs, visit themamacoach.rnnet.org. That's themamacoach.rnnet.org. Your skills are valuable, your experience matters, and your career can evolve. Go to themamacoach.rnnet.org and explore what's possible.
Wow, that's really powerful. And I think so many people in the audience will be able to relate to exactly how you are feeling. So, like many nurses, they need their job for benefits or they need it for that steady income. How did you work through that fear that I'm sure you probably felt before you started the Mama Coach?
I too was in that exact same position. I couldn't just decide I was done work and then the next day build my business. I had to do it at the same time because I needed to pay my bills as well. And so what happened was I was working full-time night shifts, and my husband, at the time, he worked away Monday to Friday. And so I just had to take a real hard look at where I was spending my time outside of work. And I built myself a framework of what I needed to get done to get my practice up and running. And I was tired, but it lit something inside of me because I was tired before I started my business. And what felt good is that I now had a plan on how I was going to navigate through all of those feelings of, I think it was burnout and my own health issues and just feeling disheartened around what nursing was looking like for me. So I felt like revitalized, even though I was tired, and doing both because I had a plan and that was new to me. And so I guess to answer your question, I didn't draw like a hard line in the sand and just jump both feet in. I worked and did this on the side, and within, it was 9 months, I was able to step back from my nursing role. So it grew very quickly, and I believe it's because there's such a gap in healthcare systems globally, actually, where I think, and again, this is my opinion, but we do a really good job at trying to take care of disease in hospital, right? We're trying to care for the sickest of people, but the foundational health promotion, health prevention, let me help you understand your health, the stuff that we went into nursing for in the first place, that's hard to do in a traditional sense. And I feel like my patients in my private practice really felt that shift when they got to experience what true nursing care looks like.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I really want to dive into more about the Mama Coach. But before I do, as you were ready to take that step to have your own practice, what superpower from nursing did you bring with you that really made a difference and an impact as you started that business?
That's a good question because I talk to nurses all the time who are really scared about business, and I was no different because I would be the first to say I had no idea about how to start a business. But what I did know is that I cared deeply about being a nurse. And I also brought that skill set with me of being highly analytical. I call it, it's really applying the nursing model of care. So being able to evaluate what you've done and analyze, did this work, didn't this work? And how can I change it and move forward from that? And that's a skill that is more than applicable in just nursing, and it can apply to business too. I also think that we have the ability to make stuff happen. We are resilient, we are creative, we are multitaskers. We have a huge skill set that parallels the skills that you need to run a business too.
Absolutely. Well, great. Let's dive in a little deeper to the Mama Coach. So we may have listeners who have not heard of your business before. So how would you say you differ from the traditional hospital-based setting? Kind of give us that overview.
Sure. So we've actually really grown in the last 11 years. So the first few years of the Mama Coach, it was just me, and I was running my own independent practice, seeing families. And a few years in, I realized, because people were reaching out from all over, and I thought every community deserves to have a nurse giving this kind of care. So we decided to license the brand. So now what we do is we help registered nurses and nurse practitioners set up their own independent practice. So it's theirs, but we share the programming, all of our assessments, all of our care plans, all of the training, the deep understanding required to give that kind of care, as well as the technology and the ongoing support. And fast forward, now we actually have 3 divisions. So we have nurses who start practices in our maternal child division, which is where it all started. It's like the dyad. And then we have a women's health division, which is really focused on perimenopause and menopause. And our newest division just launched like 4 months ago, and it's fertility. So it's preconception health coaching and working with people who are moving through assisted fertility treatments.
Wow. Okay. So it's great to hear about the growth. In your practice, what does a typical day-to-day look like for you?
Sure. So my role has evolved because my passion, like I mentioned before, has always been women's health. And it has been so beautiful, I think, to watch it evolve and grow to now I'm really passionate about women's health, community health, but also nurse health, because I didn't realize how fragile might be the word. I was burnt out, exhausted until I stepped out of that system. And then I had a really busy year building my own practice. I wouldn't say I was rested in that moment, but like I said, I was energized and excited. But then I gained enough autonomy in my practice where I was setting my own hours and actually caring for myself too. And I believe that nurses are highly underutilized in our healthcare system. I think that we are a beautiful profession that has a lot to offer. And it is so awesome when I see nurses step into that role where they're able to give the kind of care that they want to give while also caring for themselves. Because I think the healthcare system right now, and I'm generalizing, but they expect a lot of nurses to work, care for everybody, but at the expense of their own health and their own family, like can't get vacation and this and that. And I think it's beautiful when a nurse can care for her community, but also care for herself. So my role has evolved a bit in the sense that I do a lot of coaching with nurses now and leading the brand and helping them build practices in their communities. But initially, when it was just me, and I still do see clients mostly on a referral basis, but initially what it looked like when it was just me and my practice is once I had built all the systems, I set my own availability. And at the time I had 2 small kids, and I decided I am going to make what I'm making in the hospital, but I'm going to do it in 2 days a week when my kids are at school. One was in play school at the time. And I did it. And so I saw my clients on Mondays and Tuesdays. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I worked on marketing and growing my practice, but I did it around my kids' schedules. And that, for the first time in my nursing career, I didn't feel chronically exhausted.
It's amazing. And I know just just from what I hear from the nurses that I connect with, that schedule and that work-life balance, it's so important. So thank you for sharing that. So as far as the mama coach, what type of support do you provide to those individuals who come on board?
So for the nurses who start practices with us, so we have nurses who decide they're going to start a maternal child practice or a fertility practice or a women's health. And then we have nurses that do two or maybe all three. And the biggest thing is community. Because when I can tell you, I did not put much thought into when I stepped outside the healthcare system to start my own practice. I honestly didn't think much about what it would feel like to not have colleagues. And very quickly, I realized, whoa, nursing is a team sport. And I didn't have that team. And I thought, okay, this is an adjustment. And it was hard. And so when a nurse joins our community, this nurse isn't like buying an online course from me. I describe it as a long-term relationship where we have a healthy nursing culture. And I actually think if a culture isn't healthy inside a healthcare system, that's not the nurse's fault. That's a fault of the system that they're working in. But I can tell you that when a nurse starts with us, community is at the forefront and support. And I believe that every nurse should set their own goals. So and I actually think that nurses' goals should center around revenue goals, because I believe a nurse should be fairly compensated, and then she will give great care. The two go hand in hand. And so what happens is we help a nurse build a strategic plan based on their business. So even before that, they come on board and we give them the foundational learning of the background of the practice they're starting. So for example, we have nurses who have a background in corrections, but their passion has always been maternal child health. And it's hard to get into that in the hospital systems. So we give a deep learning so they understand the physiology of breastfeeding, the newborns, infant feeding, sleep hygiene, potty training. All of our teaching goes deep into understanding the why, and then we go into assessment. How do you do an assessment on a newborn? How do you do an assessment on a family? And then how do you create a care plan? And then how do you coach them? Because that's what we're doing I describe it like this. So it's really beautiful. And our scope of practice is actually really big when it comes to teaching. So a nurse or a family comes to us and says, or a woman or whoever, and says, this is my problem, this is my challenge. What we do is an assessment to determine, is it appropriate to walk beside this person or this family and help them overcome their problem, meet their goal using education and support, or do we need to refer them? And we do that for all three divisions that we have at the Mama Coach, and that is what we're teaching to each nurse. But then beyond that, in order to make impact in your community, you need clients. And in order to have clients, you have to know how to market your practice. It's honestly probably what holds nurses back the most is that feeling of, I don't know if I can do that. And so that's a big part of the training, and it's a big part of the long-term support where we have nurses. So what happens is we build them a website, their EMR, everything's connected, their booking systems. We build the system for them. And then what happens is when they're up and running, then they need a plan, and it's centered around their revenue. So if they want to make $8,000 a month, what does that mean? Maybe that's 3 clients a week or whatever it is. And then we center a marketing plan around that. And we're going to help them build that marketing plan, which is really centered around, digital marketing. But I actually don't believe nurses should have to make 32 TikToks a week. I don't. We are not. And I think the nurses who choose to be content creators, that's beautiful. But we're not influencers. We use digital marketing as a way for people to deeper understand what the nursing model of care can bring to their health, and that it's kind of like their business card. And then the second way that we find clients is through community. And so we have a series of workshops that we teach nurses, because one of our superpowers is we're good communicators and people trust us. So we get out into our community and we teach, and through that, we find a lot of clients. And then we have our third pillar of marketing, which is healthcare collaboration. And I think we sit so beautifully on the fence between working with Western care providers, and there's a huge referral network there, but we also work very well with allied health professionals. I think that's another thing we bring to the table, is we're very used to a multidisciplinary team, and you'll still have that in independent practice, and I'll teach you how to tie all that together. And then what we do is we meet with the nurse every single month to analyze what's working in her practice, what isn't, let's talk about it. So it's that long-term coaching while she gains the skill, and it will go on forever until she wants to scale or start a membership or whatever it looks like. So it really is a long-term relationship, plus sprinkled in is like monthly professional development and bi-weekly business coaching, and we're all we meet once a year in person because we're colleagues from all over the place, and it's so fun to meet in person.
As nurses, you spend your days caring for everyone else, but who's taking care of your furry family members when they need help? Dutch Veterinary Telehealth gives you 24/7 access to licensed veterinarians right from your phone. For just $11 a month, you get unlimited video visits with experienced vets who can answer your questions, assess symptoms, and provide peace of mind. Dutch also serves as your pet's pharmacy and can refer you to a local veterinarian for emergencies when needed. No more wondering if that limp is serious enough for a vet visit. No more waiting until morning when your cat won't eat. Just instant access to professional care for the pets you love. Visit dutch.rnnet.org to learn more and sign up today. That's dutch.rnnet.org. Comprehensive veterinary care whenever you need it.
You've talked about this as a community. Tell me, where do you have folks come to your business from? And how do you manage the clinical quality aspect across so many different members?
That's a good question. And so I'm actually Canadian. I started my practice here in Canada, and that's where the Mama Coach began. And then we expanded into the United States. So now we actually have the most nurses. We're a team of 180 nurses worldwide right now. And so we're in Canada, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, and Ireland. That's where we are right now. And then to answer your question is, it's really important from a professional standpoint that we're using evidence-informed assessments and guidelines and information. And so we have an entire team, not me, not just me. There's so many people involved in making sure that our content is up to date. So if you were a nurse that started with us in the US, you would use our American content. So every division has its own teaching, its own content, because your guidelines are a little bit different. You spell things different, which is different than the UK, which is different than Australia. So it's its own division within the Mama Coach, keeping all of that content up to date.
So just thinking about someone who is interested in this, someone is listening and they really want to become a part of this organization, what would the first 3 things you would recommend they do to make this leap?
I think they should get clear on their vision of what they're looking for in nursing. And what I mean by that is the nurses who start practices with us that thrive, they quit their jobs, that this is exactly what they wanted, is that they're really looking for autonomy. They really want to lean into giving that kind of care that they feel like they're not being able to give in the system that they're currently in. If that resonates, this is probably a great fit. Sometimes I talk to nurses that are unhappy where they're working. And I have so much compassion for that. And at the end of our conversation, we end up realizing that they're not looking for an independent practice, they're looking for remote work. And the two are very different. And so what I mean by that is that when you get clear on what it is you're looking for, maybe you want to work from home, but you still want an employer telling you, these are your clients, this is when vacation is, this is when your break. If that makes your toes cringe, then independent practice might be for you. And so I think getting clear on, can I do this, your current role, for another year, another 5 years, another 10 years? What is that impact going to be on my own health, on my family, for my nursing career? Getting clear on what it is, like timeline wise. And if you're like, no, I know this isn't what I want to do for another year, another 5 years, then I would consider making a big shift and jumping in and starting an independent practice.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, you mentioned earlier in our conversation that you felt stuck, burnt out a little bit before you made this leap. What advice would you give to those nurses who feel stuck at this moment, who maybe aren't quite ready to take the leap, but they're thinking about it?
I think, first of all, if you can find small ways to care for yourself, I have so much compassion for a nurse who is working shifts and is doing her very best. I recently was in the hospital with my dad. He's okay, but I just had so much compassion when I watched the nurses try to care for their patient load on the unit that we were on. And I just thought, how are these people going home? I watched them go home at 7:45 or whatever. And then they were going home to make dinner, pack lunches, this, that. Like, it's a heavy, heavy load. And I believe that healthcare and nursing is a big job. And to try and manage that plus your own health it's heavy. It's a lot. And so I think it's just about, I lost my train of thought. I get going on such tangents that I always forget what the question is. But what I was saying is, like, you were asking me, like, what is the nurse, like, what was the question again?
Basically, if you're that nurse who is feeling stuck, what advice would you give them to kind of get unstuck, but they're still not ready to take the leap into being self-employed?
So if you can find small ways to care for yourself, I don't think a nursing week pizza party is going to fix our nursing problem, our challenge in the healthcare system. But I think deciding to take control for yourself because here's the thing, when it comes to the challenges that somebody's having in their workplace, there's only so much you can do. You can fix the things that you can fix for yourself, and often that is the environment that you're in. And so sometimes it's just deciding you've had enough, and because there's never going to be a great time. There isn't. Like, I would be the first to say that when I started, it was not a great time. My husband worked away Monday to Friday. I worked nights with 2 small boys. I was like burning the candles at both ends. But I think it's deciding no more. I can either be unhappy and maybe you can decide, okay, I can do this for another year, but I start like journaling, start thinking about what's next for you, and then take a big breath. And whether it's this or anything else in nursing, look at the other options out there. There's so many things that nurses can do. But because I tried it too, I actually left shift work and I went to the operating room, and I have so much respect for operating room nurses. They work so hard. The hours were a lot better, but man, did I feel unfulfilled, because like I said at the beginning of our conversation, connection is something I really value, and I didn't feel it there. So yes, my hours were better, but it wasn't checking all the boxes. So ask yourself, what do I need to feel good in my job? And what do I need to feel good when I'm not working? And then I guess be brave enough to make that decision and go for it.
Nurses are taught to be humble and stay behind the scenes. So tell me how you bring that humble nurse to be that dynamic business owner from your perspective.
That's a really good question. And I actually think it's deep rooted because I I believe in the skill set of a nurse, and I think we're underutilized. And I actually think, in some ways, the healthcare system has caused some potential challenges with competence with nurses as they try to step outside the healthcare system. That hierarchical system of healthcare has, in some ways, made nurses feel potentially like they think that they can't step outside and do something for themselves. And so I want to encourage every nurse to look at her skill set and just know how applicable it is to independent practice. And I'll give you one example. So when I'm working with nurses who are learning how to market their practice in communities and talk to healthcare professionals about it and digital marketing, they often feel really nervous. And I think that that's really normal. But I say to them, you have the ability to make somebody feel comfortable and safe in the most horrendous of situations. It's one of our gifts as nurses. We have all been in that situation. You think about, we're helping people in their most vulnerable of states, right? And we do it without blinking an eye. And I just think, how incredible is that? How incredible anyone listening who does that. Like, I have so much respect for that and our profession and our skill set when it comes to that. My job is to help nurses see that strength, because a very small percentage of the population can make people feel like how we make them feel. And I like to help them translate that into talking about their business, sharing about their skill set, giving them the confidence to share their skill set with their community. And as soon as that clicks, I watch them fly and grow and become that person in their community where people want their care. They have wait lists, they're busy, and it's actually not as complicated as we think. I think it's easy to get really overwhelmed and be like, oh, I don't know how to do a website and this and that and Instagram reels. But it's actually building strong relationships in your community and with healthcare collaborations. And it will, as soon as you start giving great care, people will talk. Like, I was just talking with a nurse, one of the nurses on our team, and she was telling me, like, it was just this morning, 75% of her clients every week are coming from referrals. And it's because when people have the opportunity to receive the kind of care that we're able to give when we don't have those time constructs put on us, word spreads, especially in women's health, when people aren't necessarily getting the care that they're looking to receive. Like, we're often not somebody's first stop. They've tried other places and then they come to us, and all of our assessments start with, tell me your story, and start from the beginning. And I think every nurse wants to say that, but it's really hard to listen to somebody's full story when you have 5 other patients and a list so long, right? And we have the beautiful privilege of independent practice where we spend 2 hours with somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you bring up some really good points. One of the things I saw on your website is you believe in community over competition. Tell me more about that.
Sure. I think that comes down to nursing culture too. I have built this company centered around nursing. That's who we are. And we don't compete with one another. We are a healthy nursing community where we come together in a privacy compliant space and we talk about challenging cases, because I believe every nurse brings something to the table. And we also talk about marketing. What does marketing look like for this person? Like, we have nurses who have clinics. So like, in the last 2 months, I think we've opened 3 clinics, like brick and mortar clinics. We have nurses who have just online, like virtual practices. We have nurses who have mobile practices, and some that do a hybrid. And I say that because just last week, we in business coaching, we had two nurses who actually started practices independently. Like they opened their own practice, both with the mama coach, but they joined forces in their community. It's a small community. I think there's 50,000 people. They opened a feeding clinic for babies. We helped them with it, and it is going so fantastically. And that is because of the belief that, they weren't competing against one another. It's the power in the branding of two of them talking about what they're doing and then collectively joining forces and opening that feeding clinic has just brought so much value to their community and so much value to one another, where I think there's power in having support. I know because I started all by myself and realized, what I was lacking. And so I'm really, really proud of the community that we've created. And so, like I said, we have nurses who do fertility. So the preconception health, we have nurses who do women's health, which is primarily perimenopause and menopause, and then the maternal child division. And so it's all about thinking, how can we collaborate as a team on a global perspective? And then how can we collaborate in our communities?
Absolutely. I love that story. And I think so many nurses would be attracted to the fact they can partner without feeling like they're competing against their colleagues,
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, looking at 2026 and beyond, what major trends are you seeing in independent nursing practice?
I think that the public is realizing that what a nurse's role is in health and health promotion, health prevention. And I'm really proud. So we've started collecting our data as a team in terms of health outcomes. And this isn't new research, but we're proving it again. Everybody knows, or I guess the healthcare community knows, that when a nurse is involved, healthcare outcomes improve. And we are no different. And the reason why it is so good over here in our corner of the mama coach when it comes to healthcare is that we have the opportunity to truly create that therapeutic relationship with our clients and give the kind of care that we were trained to give. And I think that the public is catching on. And I get asked often, like, Carrie, what is the solution for our healthcare? Because we all know there's challenges there. And I don't know. I do believe that healthcare systems need to utilize registered nurses and nurse practitioners more. I think it's become so skill-based and checkbox based and the public is starting to feel that. Where true health comes is looking at the entire person and caring for each part of them, including their family. And that's exactly what we're doing. And so in regards to trends, I think that the general public is looking for more. They want more than just, treating disease. We're having more talk about, how do we treat the entire person? What does health truly look like? And I think that nursing is just really, really aligned with that. And even nurse practitioners, we have a growing number of nurse practitioners on our team. And I have so much respect for anybody who's gone back to school to be a nurse practitioner. And then their model of care is so beautiful. It's like a deeper nursing model of care, but they're often tried to fit into this medical model where they have to see patients so quickly, so many of them. And that's actually not how they were trained to give care. And so I watched the beautiful thing happen when a nurse practitioner sets up her own independent practice and can give that kind of care. Community health improves. And so in 2026 with the Mama Coach, it's really exciting. We're having a big revamp of our main website so that people really understand that we aren't just a maternal child division. We have all three divisions, and really what we are is a global nursing healthcare company. And even my social feeds are changing because I think it's really important. Historically, they've just been me talking, and every nurse has their own independent feed. But maybe even by the time this podcast comes out, it will be, I'm showcasing the collective every single day. Is I want every nurse from all over the world on my feed teaching, because that's what we are, is a collective. This brand isn't just me. What we are is that collective of RNs and NPs all committed to improving health.
Amazing. Well, so if a nurse is interested in joining the Mama Coach, tell me what the timeline looks like from when they first connect with you to when they are, in business.
Sure. So it's 12 to 16 weeks. We can get them up and running. And that's, like I said, when the important work starts of, in order to create impact, you need clients, right? So we're going to help you with that strategic plan monthly. And so 12 to 16 weeks. So what they do is go to the website, they apply, I review the applications, and then we have a conversation, because I want to make sure that this is a fit for the nurse, and that collectively, we're all on the same page. Because the nurses who want autonomy, they want to set their own hours, they want to work independently, and they believe in the nursing model of care. That's who we're looking for. And so once we decide we're a good fit, then right from the beginning, you join our community online, you come to professional development, you come to business coaching, and then you move through that learning of the fundamental, like deep understanding of, I'll use menopause as an example. You get very little training in nursing school on menopause. Even if you're an MD or an NP, it's very little training. So we've developed, our training will give you a deep understanding of every division that you're, any of our three divisions. But with menopause, like, we'll help you sit for that exam to become a Menopause Society certified practitioner, so that you don't have to come to the table with this knowledge, because nobody does. In order to give really great care to a woman moving through perimenopause, you have to seek that information out yourself. So the 12 to 16 weeks is moving through that learning, and then getting your website up and running, getting your digital platform set up. And you're doing this with help. This is that long-term relationship. And I say 12 to 16 weeks. And remember, 90% of nurses who do this are working at the same time. And so we're going to help you fit this into your life. You need about 10 to 20 hours a week to do this successfully.
What kind of legacy do you want the Mama Coach to leave behind for nursing?
I want nurses to know their own power. And what I mean by that is just, our scope of practice is so big and so beautiful, and we have the ability to create such huge impact. And it's happening. I'm seeing it happening as our team grows. Like, my vision for the Mama Coach is that there is a nurse in every community, in every division, giving care that we were trained to give. Because that is how health outcomes improve in communities. If you care for enough people, one at a time, one family at a time, the ripple effect happens, and health starts to improve. And I want that. Like, I care deeply for families and for people and for women. And I believe that nurses have so much to contribute to public health, to community health. And I also think they should be able to do it not at the expense of their own health, because that's a huge problem in healthcare right now, that expectation for nurses to just work, care. And, no, you can't get vacation. No, oh, you missed a break. Like, that is not a sustainable model, and it's not working. I think everybody can agree in most places it doesn't work great. If we can value our own health and then have the ability to care for others, that's when we're going to see, these huge health changes. And so that's my passion. And everybody who's on the team at the Mama Coach shares it. Like, we all have, different personalities and different nursing backgrounds, but collectively we fundamentally care deeply for people.
It has been an absolute pleasure. And if you are interested in more information about the Mama Coach, would you please give us your website address?
Sure. So it's themamacoach.com, and mama is MAMA, themamacoach.com.
So that's it for this week's Nursing Matters. I hope this conversation with Carrie Bruno opened your eyes to what's possible when you think beyond traditional nursing roles. Whether you're exploring the Mama Coach's opportunity or simply feeling inspired to make a change in your career, remember, you have more options than you think. Before I let you go, I want to give you a preview of next week's episode. We're tackling a topic that so many nurses struggle with: how to have that crucial conversation with your manager when you're ready to take the next step in your career. What do you say when you want to move into a leadership role? How do you advocate for yourself when you're ready for more responsibility? And here's the hard part. What do you do when your manager isn't supportive of your growth? When they see you as indispensable in your current role and can't envision you anywhere else? We're going to walk through the exact language to use, the timing that matters, and the strategies for navigating those rough waters when you encounter resistance. Because the truth is, not every manager is going to champion your advancement, and you need to know how to handle that reality while still moving your career forward. If you've ever felt stuck, overlooked, or held back by a manager who won't support your growth, next week's episode is a must listen. Until then, remember, your career is yours to shape. Don't wait for permission to pursue what you deserve. Visit rnnet.org to access all of our resources, join our community of over 200,000 nurses on LinkedIn, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'm Christina, and this is Nursing Matters. Take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you next week.
No!